It's Kevin Hart, but it's not a comedy. Let's talk about it. What is up, Netflix fans? Welcome back to my channel. As always, we're talking the brand new movie or show on Netflix, and today's movie is Fatherhood, starring Kevin Hart. You may have watched this trailer and said, well, I'm excited to laugh a lot. You're not going to do that with this film. Well, maybe a little bit. We're going to talk about it. No spoilers, of course. So a father brings up his baby girl as a single dad after the unexpected death of his wife, who died a day after their daughter's birth. Now, that may sound like a spoiler. It's the summary on IMDb, and it's within like the first 2 minutes of the movie. So you're flashing back and forth between what is happening with her, along with the now of Kevin Hart slowly realizing that he is going to have to do this by himself. Well, not necessarily, because he does have his mother, his mother-in-law, his father-in-law, and all of his friends by his side, even though the confidence of his friends is not quite there towards Hart's character. Now, let's back up a second. This is based on a memoir called Two Kisses for Maddie, a memoir of loss and love. So based on a true story. That's heartbreaking in itself. But it's showcasing what this character of Matt has to go through to raise a child being a single father. And I know what you're going to say. Well, we see single mothers do this all the time, and that's absolutely true. But this time you get to see the impatience and just aggressiveness of, well, I look at that and I'm like, well, can I do it? I don't know. Matt is also really caring, really passionate, and he just wants to do this. But most importantly, he believes he can do this. And at times in this film, it seems like he's the only one that believes he can do this. You have Laurel Howery, who plays Jordan, one of his friends, along with Anthony Carrigan, who plays Jordan, Alfre Woodard, who plays Marion, the stepmother. Absolutely outstanding. She's so good in the movie. Now, at first, there was this hesitancy towards her character. I'm like, I don't know if she is as, and you can understand why she is in such an emotional state because of what happened. I don't know if she is as supportive as she needs to be, and I didn't know if she was going to be a character that I was going to respond to. But as we progress through the movie, and we'll talk about the story here in just a second, it slowly becomes better, that relationship at least. But what this film is all about, it's about showing Matt go through all of these different things that a single father would have to go through, but then the stress and the lacking of confidence that he has when it comes to getting into certain situations. And it's all of your standard things. Can I change a diaper? How do I deal with all of the crying? At one point, he goes to like a therapy session full of just mothers, and at first they're like, what are you doing here? And eventually he's cracking. He's like, listen, I can't do this. She won't stop crying. What do I do? And I would have liked to maybe explore that specific thing and maybe a few of these things that he gets himself into just a bit more, because what this story does is it highlights through things instead of actually spending a lot of time in one moment of time or during one big event from his life. I think the biggest thing that I needed from this movie that it just didn't give to me was Matt's job, his career. What exactly did he do? Why is there so much travel involved? What went into certain decisions that he made towards the end of the film? And we get the gist of it. It's not something that is required to be explored to enjoy this movie, but I personally thought the writing wasn't as strong in that regard. And then just the fact that we're skipping through moments, and there is a time jump in this movie, and at first it was just a bit too quick and a little jarring, and that kind of compromised the pacing of the movie itself. So this is not a fault towards anyone but the actual script itself. Now, when we get into the performances, and I think that's why we're all here, of course, the supporting cast is going to be really good. Laurel is someone who I enjoy popping up in movies like this, and obviously Alfre Woodard is really great. The question is, can Kevin Hart handle this role? My wife has a friend who thought this was going to be a pure comedy, and for good reason. A lot of people saw that trailer and they said, oh, it's going to be another shticky Kevin Hart, haha, funny. And not everyone loves Kevin Hart's comedy. He's slowly becoming one of those actors that just kind of plays the same character. Now, I personally think he's funny. I'm entertained by Kevin Hart. I like his stand-ups. But when it comes to playing a serious role, other than, I believe it was called The Upside a few years ago, I just don't know, or I didn't know if he could do it. Now, there were times when I thought Kevin Hart could have gotten a bit more emotional. At the beginning specifically, there was an emotional gut punch that really hit everyone around him, and it does hit him later on in the movie. But I needed a bit more from him at that moment. I needed a bit more from him in that opening scene. Beyond that, as the movie progresses and he builds this relationship with his daughter, I thought he did a good job. I was genuinely impressed, and it's up to Kevin Hart to carry this movie on his shoulders. If he's not good, the movie's not good, because he essentially is the movie. Well, he and his daughter, and we'll talk about her in just a second. But Kevin Hart is genuinely solid in this film. He doesn't go beyond that. He doesn't give that maybe Oscar-worthy performance that some people are going to wait on in this film, but he shows some emotion. There's a lot of range, and you believe that relationship, and that's the most important part, and that's why I believe Kevin Hart did a good job. And then, of course, we have the older version of Maddie, and that is Melody Hurd, and she was actually just in the Amazon Prime series Them. Now she pops up in this, and I'll tell you what, this girl has a lot of charisma, a lot of charm, and she was wonderful in this film. So because you have two solid performances, it's all about that back and forth and that banter between the two, between the father and his daughter, showcasing those struggles, what he is having to go through. Yes, they montage through a few things, and I do believe some will watch this and be like, well, it didn't give us everything we wanted in terms of the struggle, but you can understand why, because, you know, they only have so much time to tell what they needed to tell. Oh, I also want to talk about the comedy really quick before we wrap this review up. And again, people are going to be expecting comedy, and there are comedic beats. Some of the humor didn't quite work for me. Some of it fell a bit flat, which is surprising because of all of the comedic talent. It's a lot better, this movie at least, when it's trying to pull on your heartstrings. It's a lot better when it's getting emotional, and this is drama first, comedy second. If it would have been comedy first, I don't know how much I would have loved it because of how poorly written some of the jokes were, but overall, there is a bit of a nice balance towards the end of the film. So before I give you guys my score, thank you so much for watching this review. More Netflix stuff, a lot of it, this weekend. Kevin Hart showcases a wide range of emotions as Fatherhood does a nice job of pulling on heartstrings. I'm going to 68% for Fatherhood. I got almost exactly what I wanted because I expected drama first. I got a compelling performance from Hart, really good supporting performances, and your heartstrings are tugged on, absolutely, in this film. And it's just sweet. And it's just in time for Father's Day. So how did you feel about Fatherhood? Did you enjoy it on Netflix? Thank you so much for watching. Again, come back if you want more reviews, and if you don't have to. I'm not forcing you.